So, good morning and thank you to everybody for being here today. This is the Day of Caring Project Coordinator Training. Our Spring Day of Caring this year is set for May 17th. We are very excited. Excuse me. We have over 1,000 volunteers that are registered, which is a 15% increase over last year. We're pretty excited about that. And because of you, I just kind of like to start the Day of Caring. I'm sorry, I see there's a question. Will I send a copy of the slides? And yes, I'm going to send a copy of the slides as well as I'll also send a link to the recorded session and then some of the materials that I'm going to refer to. So I will have all of those available for you. So because of you, we've had 18 days of caring over the years. I think it's been about 14 years worth of days of caring. We've had 1,536 projects. Over 85,000 volunteer hours have been given, and more than 21,000 volunteers have participated, which puts us at about $1.9 million for the value of our volunteer time. So thank you so much to everybody that supported our Days of Caring. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, and we are very excited about what's to come for this year. So it's time for us to inspire our 2018 volunteers. So similar to last year, we challenged you to align your projects with the United Way Community Impact Plan, meaning that they're helping in some way to support education, financial stability, and health. We will also ask you during the follow-up survey to report any outcomes or outputs that you can report about your project. We did have the 90+ projects that were submitted, and over 1,400 volunteers have been requested. So we are definitely changing the way that we engage our volunteers, and we really appreciate that. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Day of Caring timeline. We're going to talk about best practices, which are things that a lot of you have probably heard before. But then we're really going to dive into the Volunteer Hub. The Volunteer Hub is new this year. That is our online site for registration. I'm going to show you how to use the hub to access your volunteer information and just general information as well. And again, if there's questions, I know I have a place for it here, but do feel free to ask me those questions as we go along. And then we'll close the meeting out. So for our timeline, and I apologize, hopefully everybody can hear me. My voice seems to be cutting out a little bit. For our timeline, we did our project recruitment this year for the spring in February to March. We opened volunteer registration April 3rd, and we will be closing it tomorrow, May 3rd. We close it a little bit early because that gives us that opportunity to do some of the background administration work, get you details, and make sure that you have everything you need for the day. So project coordinators, that would be you. You will be able to access your team leader and volunteer team information now. And again, I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. The project coordinators will also prepare staff for volunteer arrival, and for the project, we say May 7th to May 16th. You'll receive team leader information via email from me May 7th. And then team leaders, those are the volunteers that are heading up the volunteer teams. They're going to receive information about you and their team members May 7th and 8th. And then the team leaders and project coordinators connect to pre-plan the May 8th, from May 8th to May 11th, and May 17th is our Day of Caring. So it's just a quick rundown of our timeline. So jumping into the best practices, these are things that we've talked about before, but they really do help to make the days successful. The biggest thing first, communicating with your team leaders before the Day of Caring. Again, I'm going to get you some of that information about who your team leaders are, but we really ask that you do that May 8th through the 11th. Those team leaders will have information about who you are, you'll have information about who they are, and we just really want you to connect about your project. We also ask that you prepare your staff, your clients, the site for the Day of Caring. We want to make sure that when the volunteers arrive, they feel very welcome. Everybody on staff that they would possibly work with knows why they're there, knows where to send them, knows who can answer their questions. those types of things. And then we also ask that you are prepared to start your day as soon as your volunteers arrive. A lot of you have been really, really good about this. But volunteers, when they get there, they want to get going. They want to learn a little bit about your organization, and they want to get going with their day. And so if you have built it into your day for them to help with the setup, that's great and that's okay. But if you have not, we would like to make sure that you've got materials on site where they're supposed to be, things like that, so that they can go ahead and get started and that it feels organized to them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about communicating with your volunteer team leaders. So when you communicate with your volunteer team leaders, you're really going to be talking about their arrival time, which you've posted and asked them to be there at a certain time, but we just ask that you confirm that with them. You verify the number of people participating. Sometimes somebody may have to drop out because something happened. Sometimes somebody brings a friend that didn't register. We do discourage that, but they do that sometimes. We ask that you describe the volunteer team's duties for the day so that they are understanding what's going to happen. And if that does include putting out materials and setting up, then we ask that you start with that and talk about those things. We also ask that you let them know if there'll be anything special like heavy lifting, things like that, that they should be aware of. And then is there a dress code? If they are going to be out in the weeds, doing things like that, clearly we want them to be protected from anything that they might get, like poison ivy. So no open shoes, no sandals, long sleeves, things like that. You are responsible for supplying any materials or supplies needed for the project. However, you can chat with them about if there's special things that they like to bring, if there's a special tool that they might want to use or something that might make the project go faster. You can certainly ask them to bring that. Then we also ask that you discuss the RAIN plan and how to connect with volunteers with that alternate plan if your project is outdoors. This year on our sign-up site, it did ask you to provide information for that, but we would just want you to kind of go back over that because there is no rain date for the Day of Caring. Not all projects are outdoors, and so we want to make sure that the Day of Caring goes on. Your RAIN plan can include moving to an indoor project. It could include asking the team if they want to come a different day, or if you have to, it could be canceled. We would ask that you remind the team if you're going to provide snacks, lunch, drinks, water. Again, that was asked on the new site, so some of that information is already out there, but just make sure you go over it. You are not required to provide lunch for the volunteers. Some agencies like to do that, and we appreciate that, but you don't have to do that, and we certainly don't want you to feel like you have to. Make sure that you're discussing the parking plan. Excuse me. For parking, if you have limited parking, make sure that you're asking the team members to carpool. If there's a special place that they should be parking, make sure they know that. And then also remind them that there will be a dual release form. I will send that out as well with your team leader information, that we ask that you have each volunteer sign that day when they arrive to the project. You can make several copies and have them to make the sign-in quicker if you have large teams, so they can all sign different forms. And then we just ask that you collect those and email those back to me or mail them back to me. Oh, and I should mention that we do ask that you talk to your team leaders by May 11th. If they have not reached out to you at that point, please reach out to them. And you, again, will have their contact information. So preparing for the day, we'd ask that you're prepared and ready by May 16th. That is consisting of reminding your clients and staff of the day's activities, what you might be doing that day. You might want to have an alternate staff member that can help you out in case maybe you might be ill or something might pop up and you need to run out for some reason, so that they can still be there for those volunteers. We also ask that you be sure that you have enough staff assigned to manage those projects and ensure volunteers can be divided into teams and receive instructions upon arrival. So sometimes there are locations that have multiple projects going on, and we just ask that you have a volunteer, or I'm sorry, a staff member that can help out to manage the volunteers at the different projects. We ask that you have a contingency plan if there's too few or too many volunteers, or if the project takes more or less time than you estimated. Sometimes volunteers come in and they are just, on fire, and they get everything done really quickly and they want to help. So make sure that you have some backup plans for those types of things, that they can help you out with some additional projects. We already kind of talked about, if your event is weather dependent, have that alternate plan ready. And then you should also think about having a first aid kit on site. So event day expectations, make sure that you're prepared for your guests before they arrive. Materials in place if that's not part of your project. Staff are ready to give instructions. We do ask that you welcome your guests when they arrive. That of course that they feel very welcome when they get there. Have them sign that dual release form that I mentioned, and then give your volunteers a brief orientation and or tour of your agency or program if you can. We want them to know and understand the importance of them being there and what they're doing, no matter what they're doing. If it's working with clients to landscaping, painting, what they're doing is very important, and we just want to help them make the tie and help them understand why it is so important. I do ask that you make those things brief, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, because they are all wanting to get going on their volunteer project. Then also make sure that you let them know where the bathrooms are, drinks, if there's going to be, when there's a lunch break, if there's a place for them to have their lunch and that kind of thing. Make sure that you're reviewing your project details with every volunteer, even though we ask that the team leader talks to you and passes things on to the volunteer team. Sometimes that doesn't happen. So we just want to make sure that every volunteer is comfortable with what they're doing. Provide any necessary training or orientation that your agency may require or that you may need to do for the project. Be accessible to the volunteers and answer any questions as necessary. So, as you get them set up and going, you don't have to be looking over their shoulder the whole time, but if there is something that comes up, just make sure that they know how to get a hold of you or somebody on staff that can help them answer those questions. And of course, we encourage you to say thank you, write thank you notes, those types of things to the volunteers. I do want to go back just for a second for the providing the necessary training and orientation. Their safety is a very big concern for the day caring. We always want to make sure that your clients, our volunteers are all staying safe. And so we have a policy, no chainsaws, no woodcutters, things like that. We also ask that any volunteer that may need to use a tool knows how to use that tool before, especially if it's like a power tool, before the day. So nobody should ever be learning how to use a drill, let's say, for the first time on the day of caring as they're getting going. So feel free, if you have certain things that need to happen, you can step in, but we just ask that the volunteers are not doing things that could possibly put them at harm's way. So accessing your volunteer team information, I'm going to go ahead and get out of the PowerPoint here and go, I think I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint. Sorry, I seem to have a little delay here. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and open up our online site. Okay. So a lot of you are probably familiar with this site because you registered the Day Caring project on the site. This is our new volunteer hub. We are pretty excited about it. We have quite a few opportunities that are ongoing or one day on there, but we also are hosting our Day Caring on this site. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through how to do a few things on this site, and of course specifically for the Day Caring. So you will log into the site here, and I also have some pictures, a guide that has pictures that'll walk you right through this as well with the links and things like that I will make sure you have. So you're going to go to your login, put in your login information here, and you're going to go log into the site. So right now, it already came up for me as, I'm sorry, I'm going to back out of this just so that you can see. So if I go to my view profile, this is typically where your site is going to open up. It's going to say, welcome back, Marcy, the date. It's going to have a snapshot of what's going on. It's going to have information that we've posted out here, and then any needs listed below. But I want to get to my agency. So for those of you that have been on our other site that we used to use, there is a difference here. Instead of logging in as an agency, you're always going to log in as yourself, and then you'll access your agency. I actually really like that feature because that means that you have your own passwords, and anybody else from your organization has their own passwords as well. So we don't have to try to guess or have the same password. So up here at the top, it says My Agency. That's how you're going to access your agency information. As you can see, it says United Way of the Quad Cities area. There is a toolbox up here at the top. I have used the toolboxes and the help that is over here. I find them very, very useful. So if you have questions as you're going, feel free to try to use those, or you can always reach out to me or Amy Daniels here at the office. So you kind of see a few things here. There's ways to edit your agency information. You can upload a logo. I've had a lot of questions about agency managers over here. So the person that's starred, which happens to be me, that's the person that has access to everything on your agency page. You can make all of the changes. The other people that are listed there, they can come in and they can make changes, but there is a little bit of a limit. And they can never make themselves this primary manager. So you can reach out to me if you need somebody else to be primary manager, or you can go in and put the star, click the little star, and that makes them primary manager and removes it from you. You can also X this to delete anybody that should not be on your agency anymore. Or if you want to add somebody, you can come in here and start to type a name, and you're going to see a list populate. You do have to have a volunteer profile on the site in order to be added as an agency manager, but all you would do is click their name, and then they would become listed here. I'm not going to go into a lot of this because I do want to make sure that I'm focusing on the Day of Caring, but there is basic information and contact information as you scroll down that you can change and update, as well as your causes. You can add videos, links to your Facebook, your website pages, and different things like that. Always make sure that any changes you make, you click Update Agency Info. If you do not click that, it will not save your change. So that's just a little bit about your edit mode. Needs. These are opportunities, and these needs are not part of the Day of Caring. These are just needs that you can put up on the site. They can have custom shifts. They can happen on a certain day. They could be ongoing. And then you can track you can edit them, you can see responses, you can view the project, you can make them public or private. And anything that you submit will come to me, and I will take a look at it before I approve it. But once it's approved, it goes out on the site for everybody to see. Something else that you can do that I think is really important is you can post events on here. So on our old site, you couldn't do this, but let's say that you have a big event coming up and you want to make sure that people know about it. You can post the event on here, and you can ask it or tell it to track RSVPs, and you can export those RSVPs right through here. Stats allows you to see what's happening with your agency. You can plug in some dates here, and you can see how many people have fanned your page, how many people have viewed your page, and things like that. So now I am going to skip right over to the advanced events, and this is where the Day of Caring information is. So anything that you want to do for the Day of Caring, you will go to your advanced events. So you'll log in, you'll go to My Agency and Advanced Events. You'll scroll down here, and you can see that I've posted a test event in here so I can show you some information. So a few things that you can see right off the bat here is that I asked for 10 volunteers. I had 10 volunteers register. If I didn't, so I'm 100% complete. If I did not have 10 volunteers register, I would have another bar here that would tell me how many people I can still have. I can click on my event so I can go in and take a look at it. We do ask that you don't make a whole lot of changes to the event at this point in time because it is out on the site. But if you do need to add some information to your descriptions or anything like that, you can add that. Then I'm going to go ahead and go back to my project. So this is one of the things that I think is really cool and we're really excited about this year. If you want to view the people that are participating in your project, you're going to click on this bar here, this green bar, and it's going to provide you a list. Now, of course, I put this in with just generic information, but you can see in here the first name, the last name, and their email. You'll also be able to see, there's a little leader line here. You'll be able to see who the team leader is. It says yes by my name. That is your team leader, and that's your contact. So a couple things here. First of all, we have asked and had you sign a form for the release form that does include a statement that says that you do not use any of this information for soliciting. It is only for the Day of Caring. The other thing is that we would ask that you are not reaching out to the entire team. You're just really reaching out and talking to that team leader at this from here on out. The other thing I want to say is I had mentioned back in the other portion of the training that I'll be emailing you team leader names. So yes, you have team leader names here, but if you have people that have the @johndeere.com email, they may have several people that say yes, that they are team leaders for you. John Deere asks us to select and work with one of those people to be your team leader. So please don't reach out to the people that have that johndeere.com email. I will email you to say these are your team leaders. These are the people that we would ask you to reach out to. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's something that they do. They kind of want to streamline the process a little bit and have not so many people reaching out. The other thing that you can do here is you can remove people. You can edit them, take a look at them. You can also message your respondents, which again would send a message to all of them. Or you can export your respondents. So you can export this information and have a list if you want to have a list of who is coming, and it will drop down into Excel so that you can work with it. Another thing that you could do is a table filter. If you push this down, you can change the different things that are displayed down here. So you can take off the hours if you want, and then it will not show in this column anymore. It will still pull, but it just won't show in your column. So like I said, we're really excited about the fact that you can see the list and the names of everybody. I think that this is something that's going to really streamline the Day of Caring process. I think it's really going to help us as we move forward with the Day of Caring so that we can all communicate a little bit easier. Like I mentioned, I will be emailing out a guide that just recaps the best practices we talked about. I will be emailing out the information or the guide on how to get to this page that we are on right now. And I will be emailing out the PowerPoint as well as a link to get to this video if you need to. So with that, I do have, I want to ask a couple of questions from you guys. One of the things that we are talking about is when I talked about the John Deere team leaders and the streamlining of them, we are talking about really using the system and letting all of those team leaders work with you. So I'd really like your feedback. If we were to have, let's say that there were, depending on your project size, 10 different John Deere team leaders that were signed up, would you be okay if you were talking to 10 different John Deere employees for your project, or would that be too much?
I think that's too much.
Okay. Is there a way that would be, that we could make that easier for you?
Well, no, it's actually this is Holly. I'm in place of Carol Foster with the Handicap Development Center. She's out of the office right now. So actually, she always handles this. So I guess my opinion really doesn't matter. To me, it sounds like too much, but for her, she might say, no, that's okay. So I shouldn't really speak up on that part. But
okay.
How come there is so many, though? How come there isn't just one contact?
That's a really great question. So the way that a team leader comes about is, so let's say that I get invited to the day caring. I go in and I register a team of 5 people. Let's say the project is for 20 volunteers. And then another group goes in and they register a team for 4 people, and so on until the project fills up. So the system asks them if they are going to attend the project and if they will be the team leader, or to appoint a team leader for their team. So what happens is every group that goes in and registers for a project then will have a team leader.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, yep. The hope really is, what I really want to see happen is that we're using this website. So where it says, message the respondents, instead of having, talking on the phone to 10 different people, we're communicating via email and sending it out to everybody at once. That's really what I want to start to see as we move forward, so that we're using the technology that the system has to really streamline the process even more for everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Okay. All right. If you have anything that you want to mention, or maybe outside of this, feel free to drop me an email. That would be wonderful. I do want to say that I normally, the last few years, have been sending out a list to you of all of your participants. I will not be sending that list this year. You're just going to be getting the list of the team leaders. The reason for that is because you can go to this site and you can see it here on this page. So if at any point you have trouble accessing this page, please let us know. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Is this Marcy?
It is.
Okay, can you have, this is Holly with Handicap Development Center again. Do you have a direct number?
Yes, I sure do. It's 563-344
Okay.
0334.
Okay. And I'm not sure if Carol Foster has already signed up on this new hub. I'm not sure what kind of communication she's had with you. So when she gets back in the office tomorrow, I'll go over everything, and then she'll wait for your emails. And if she has any questions, I'll have her contact you.
Okay, yep, that sounds great. She should be signed up on the hub because I believe she submitted the day caring project. So if you submitted a project, you are on the hub and you are able to access this information.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, that's a good question though. Any other questions for me? Okay. So I know that, I kind of went through things quickly, but I didn't want to take up a lot of your time. I just went over very briefly how to find your information. Again, I'm going to send out some tools that you can use to get back to this. I'll also have my contact information for anybody that might have missed that. With that said, I don't really have anything else for the training, so I'm going to go ahead and end the training and give you back a half hour of your day. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Marcy.
Have a great day. Thank you, Marcy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.